Bruce Kelley, welcome to the Vermillion Unplugged. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Good afternoon. Good to have you here.
So, before recording, you showed me the the whole building. So, because I've been here once or twice, but I do remember the hall. I think we came here for a concert,
Yep.
around Christmas time, a few years ago. I remember liking it a lot because you guys had different, I guess ensembles, different people. So I do remember that.
Yes.
But then you showed me, I didn't know. First of all, I thought it was just music. I remember talking to Ray, and there's theater. I'm like, yeah, of course, there's theater. And then you showed me they do art. And I was thinking, oh, the typical, just painting, all this and that. And no, you showed me, you guys do welding. There's a wood shop. You guys make y'all's own costumes, so they're sewing, and make y'all's own equipment for the place. There's a lot of those skills that I did not know about. Is it always like that?
Yes, absolutely. This is a wonderful place where people have the ability and the creativity to make just about anything. And that's one of the reasons I love working here.
Now, is it too late for me to sign up to go back to school, or not yet?
Absolutely not. There is always time and always a way.
See, that is really cool. Now, before we get into it, I always ask, so what do you do?
Okay, so I'm the Dean of the College of Fine Arts.
Now, so I've met you we go to Hillside,
Yep.
and I met you, and I see you sometimes you play, tell me right, bass guitar?
Yep, I also play keyboards.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I found out that you were, I think a few months ago, that you were the dean. And I was like the dean? They're like, yeah. So for on my perspective, when I talk to people, I did an episode with Amy Schweinley.
Mhm.
I just did one with the president guest string. For some reason, for me, when I hear, oh, you guys are one of those top positions, I'm like, oh, snap. You guys are above me. You guys are my boss. I should.
No.
But yeah, you're a regular guy. And well, speaking of that, so have you always been into music?
Yes, I've loved music all my life. Now here I oversee music, theater, and art, but music is my background. And so I can remember my parents had this really interesting record collection. And so for those folks that remember what record players are, I remember just sitting and listening to just a variety of things. We had this a Reader's Digest collection of classical music, and I would sit and listen to that. We had a bunch of the classical musicals. I remember listening to Oliver over and over and over again, that musical. Same with Fiddler on the Roof. Loved those two particular musicals. So that was just kind of how I got started. My dad played guitar. My mom plays piano. So my dad would come home from work and play Johnny Cash songs on the guitar. Yeah. So it was just, I grew up in a very musical household, and I loved it.
See, I talked to David about learning music so in my family, we don't have people that play music. I did middle school band. I think I did my freshman year too. I play the French horn if people are wondering. But I remember going to those, not tryouts, but you're in fifth grade and you get to, I guess, try out each instrument. I only tried the French horn and the trumpet. And I was like, man, I should have tried other ones. But in my family, there's not a lot I don't think we have musicians. So I remember asking, is it, I guess, too late to learn? But he said no. I think he said that there's someone that plays piano, if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, that's from Brazil that only learned when he was 16. So I'm guessing it's never too late.
That's correct. Yes. And I listened to that podcast, by the way. We really enjoy your podcast. So just thank you for doing this. This is an incredible way to learn more about our community.
No, yeah.
But yeah, David is right. Yeah, it's never too late.
No, I think I like talking to a lot of people, different backgrounds, actually, especially at USD, you get to learn, like today, I just learned about you guys have the welding and all this stuff, making y'all's own costumes. I didn't know this stuff. I thought, you buy the stuff, but you guys make it. And then the sculptures. I know you got before, I know people make sculptures, but some of them look very clean, nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not an artist, so I guess I don't know, but it's really, I don't know, if people ever come over here, they should take a tour. It's really nice. I'm actually blown by it. I wish we should have a walking interview because it was real cool. And then you guys do y'all's own music. You guys do a lot of, I guess, y'all's own things. I'm guessing that's what a lot of students learn too. Like,
Yes. Yeah. It's not, when people think about the fine arts, they often think about the heart, and that's really important, right? I mean, we do these things because we feel things, but people don't often think about the hard work and the long hours that our students put in to accomplish these things. One of my favorite times of the semester is when our Student Art Alliance goes over to the Student Center and they set up their tables and they sell things that they have created.
really?
And I'm just like, this is art in action. These folks have created something. It's the creative economy. You'll hear that term a lot. They have created something and they go over and they sell and they're making money. And I think that that's, one of my missions is just to proclaim as loudly and as often as I can that you can make a living in the fine arts.
Now, I'm going to go a little off topic.
Yeah.
Speaking of art, yesterday I did, whenever this is aired, I did an episode with the people from the Vermillion Cultural Association. So I didn't know the movie theater and then the art gallery were connected. So I saw a little bit of that. And we were talking a little bit about art. I was talking with Shannon Cole about it.
Yep.
And one of the things that me and Myra talk about, we talk about like art stuff. And I tell her, I said, I don't understand some of these paintings. Have you seen those like $1 million paintings? And I'm probably exaggerating, but it's like a squiggly line or a dot.
Yep.
Like in my mind, I'm like, why is that like worth a lot? But if I see like, something made, like for example, these sculptures are really, really good. Or for example, just like, let's say just tattoos. There's people that have like, black and white realistic portrait tattoos. I'm like, well, see, that is cool because I can't draw. I could barely write my own name. But how do people become that famous painter? Or is there something I'm not understanding with art?
Wow, that's a great question. and really, I think that's the answer is more than 60 minutes worth of discussion in terms of a podcast, right? How is art valuated? Who gets to choose which art is valuated? And why do certain things pop and other things don't? I can't give you a quick answer. I'm not even sure I can give you a long answer. There's just a lot of things, right? Who can account for taste, right?
True.
All it takes for a piece of art to become really valuable is for two people to want it. If only one person wants it, well, then they can buy it whatever price they want. If two people want a particular painting, well, then all of a sudden they're bidding against each other. And so, it's just a lot of it is personal taste. Some of it is just kind of what people think is hip in terms of current culture and things like that. I mean, it's like asking, why does one musician become a multi-million-dollar seller as opposed to another musician? And, I hesitate to equate value with money because I think that there's some amazing pieces of work, music, art, theater, that are out there that aren't making a ton of money, but they have an intrinsic value that makes them really important.
You are right. Because with the discussion with David, we're talking about, I remember talking about video game music and how nowadays now it's getting, more popular. So this week and last week, so I go to the gym in the mornings and hopefully people don't like hear my headphones, but I listen to like video game music and I'm trying to pay attention. And then I listen to the fan-made video game music. And if you are wondering, I listen to Pokemon music and it's very intense. And then I saw a video, they did like an analysis of why it's so, not popular, but why it like gets you like fired up. But anyways, like some of that fan music, it's like super, like really good. Then you also have like people, not just in video game music, but like music, like indie music, or they're independent. I know there's a, I don't know if he's like a rapper. There's a musician now. His name is Connor Price, independent. His music is very, well, I guess for me, it's really good. I like it, but he's not making like millions. He's on YouTube doing his own thing. And now, now he's getting more popular. But see, like nowadays, or maybe back in the day, people probably had to have like they had to go to the studio or this and that. But nowadays, if you have a laptop or your phone, you can make your own stuff. Even with like art, like now there's digital art, not the AI stuff, but like digital. Like I've seen it, like it's amazing, like different layers. And now, like I guess I'll go to the theater part or theater. Now, like there's people making skits, videos on you, like. You could do a bunch of things nowadays, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we saw was our virtual and augmented reality lab, right? And so Our students are learning to create within that digital realm in those classes. In the area of theater, digital projections has become a really big thing, right? So you're whatever it is, you're taking a projection. It could be anything. It could be a background. It could be a landscape. It could be motion, imitating a snowstorm, or it could just be a ton of different things, right? And that's becoming really important in the world of theater. And so it's just interesting to see how technology interacts with art, but that's always been the case. Art and technology have always been linked. I can think back to creating the very first books and how the printing press impacted that, and we've got a printmaking studio here, right? Yeah, and how the recording technologies, starting from the late 1800s, are impacting music, and how music is produced and how it's enjoyed, right? So technology and the arts have always been linked.
I talked about the AI stuff before. Some people say AI is probably going to take jobs and this and that, but I see it as a tool. Do you think in any of the departments we're talking about, or any of the arts, have you seen it where it could probably help or become a really useful tool?
I think so. And that's how I look at it as well, as a tool. And we'll have to see where AI goes. But technology, artists have been told that technology is going to be taking their jobs forever. And so, again, looking at the recording industry, ever since the early 1900s, musicians have had to contend with the fact that there are now these recordings sitting out there. And so somebody could always grab a gramophone and play that as opposed to hiring a live band. Well, did that have an impact on the music industry? Sure, but it didn't eliminate the music industry. It just changed it. And I think that's what AI is going to do. It's going to be a tool that people use. At this point, AI simply goes out and looks at what is out there and compiles whatever it is that you're asking for. But so far, it doesn't inherently create. And so I think that as we look to the future, our students are incredibly creative, and I see that as one of the most important factors in getting and keeping jobs as the economy continues to grow, as technology continues to be important. This idea of a creative economy, I think, is going to be really important. And our students inherently in all three departments are learning to work with technology as a tool to help them produce artistic expressions.
Yeah, speaking of the students learning, I think they're learning valuable stuff, especially the first thing you showed me when they make their own stuff, like they're sewing and welding. Where do most of the students head to? Like the ones that do that stuff.
So your podcast listeners are not going to be able to see this, but I'm actually moving forward on the table in front of me. We actually did a study of what our graduates do after they graduate. And we looked at both, what does that first career look like? And then, beyond 3 years, what does it end up that you're doing? And so our students get a wide variety of jobs. One of my favorite examples is we had a couple of theater set designers who went to Minneapolis and got a job making furniture for a company that specializes in making furniture for escape rooms. And so, you know what escape rooms are? Yeah, right? So if you think, what does an escape room need? It needs furniture with hidden drawers and funky openings and things like that. Well, who knows how to do that? Theater people. And so they got a job doing that. One of our art students in sculpture got a job down in Omaha creating made-to-order garden statues. So if you think about the little toads that set out in your garden and things like that. Yeah. So this company specializes in just kind of, you tell us what you want and we'll make it, we'll hand design it. And so she's doing that. And then we have students that are succeeding at the very highest levels of professional careers. So one of my taglines that you'll hear me say all the time is, at the USD College of Fine Arts, our students succeed from the greatest stages in the world to the smallest of our South Dakota communities. And what I mean is, for example, right now on Broadway in New York City, we have two of our students in leads.
Really?
One in Hamilton and one in the Book of Mormon. And these students have really succeeded. We have students that are in California, in Hollywood right now, making a living as actors, as actresses, as set designers, as art directors. And so we have folks that are succeeding in the business. We also have students that say, you know what, I loved my theater degree, but I want to go back to my really small town in South Dakota. And they may be, doing what the economy allows them to do in that space. I'm a bank teller, or I'm a, one of the things that I discovered as we were doing this is how many of our art majors were going to become florists, which when you think about it, well, what does a florist need to be able to do? They need to be able to make creative arrangements. And so I thought that was interesting. But you see them in these small towns, they're working, but then you'll see a couple of things. First is you'll see them using art as that side hustle. A photographer can make a lot of money if they're willing to work weekends and go to weddings. True. And, or they're selling different types of art on Etsy, or, they've got their own studio that's working, right? But the other thing I saw is that they are working with the fine arts in their communities. So if in a volunteer basis, so you go to these small towns and you say, well, who is helping with the community theater? Who is helping with the summer art camps? Who are the church musicians? Who are, Saturday night, they're just doing something artsy that the community can enjoy. And our graduates are doing that. And so it's exciting because our students have a ton of, they can go and be professional if they want to, but they can also stay here, be at home. And we have folks that are really successful professionally here in South Dakota, but some of them choose to go in different directions and they're still making a difference. They're still using that arts degree to make a difference for their communities.
You're right, because they're learning all these valuable, I see it like now, these valuable skills, especially I'm gonna go back to it, like the welding and then the woodwork, because my dad, he always told me, or like, so he works in construction. He's good with his hands. He knows how to do this. Me, I should have paid more attention. He always told me, hey, come here and so you can help me out. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna go ahead inside and play some video games. Bad decision, but I still love video games. But I feel like I miss, I don't know how to create or make anything. I just don't know what it is. But when I see that, I'm like, whoa, you guys are, maybe I don't know if it's important to them, but I see it because I can't do that. And I'm like, whoa, you guys are especially the sewing part, making your own stuff. Man, if I have a hole, I don't even know what to do. I'll probably just buy another pair of pants. Especially if we break some, or I know a lot of people that we know, they make their own cabinets or work, or even just do basic stuff in the house. And I see the students doing wood shop. I'm like, hey, you guys could. I don't know what you guys are gonna do with it, but one day you guys will use that. So
yep,
now,
absolutely.
So I feel a little jealous now. I did a biology degree.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna.
Everybody that regrets going pre-med, they can come over to the fine arts. That's fine. My dad was a tire dealer and owned a garage, right? So when I grew up, I was a grease monkey. It helped change tires, changed oil, all that good stuff. And I really appreciate the lessons that I learned working in that environment. And I also wish that I had learned more, because if you ask me what's wrong with the car, I'll say, I don't know.
Me neither.
But I really appreciated the lessons that I learned. And I see our students here learning the same lessons. It's about the time you put in. It's about the hard work. It's about being creative, but you have to be intentional in your creativity. And that's what the faculty here help our students to do.
I want to ask you this, because I asked this to a lot of people. So your dean, has that always been the goal? Did you always want to become the dean when you were a kid, or how did that happen?
That's a great question. So I came to the University of South Dakota in 2007, and I was the director of the Center for Teaching and Learning. And that's what they hired me here for. And the reason was I was out on the East Coast, but both my wife and my family are here or in Nebraska. And so I loved where I was at. But when the kids came along, I was like, I'd like to be closer to the grandparents. And so this position opened in 2007, this director for Center for Teaching and Learning. And one of my research areas was pedagogy in music. And so I applied for the job and I got it. And it's just been a wonderful experience. And so as I was doing that job, I got the opportunity to work with just a ton of different people. I got to work with the testing center. I got to work with the Gallagher Center. I got to work with institutional research, and just a whole bunch of different areas, accessibility. And as those options opened up, and as I got to work with the great people across this campus, in 2020, the dean that was here decided to leave. And so, I talked to my wife and I said, is this something that I should throw my hat into the ring for? And it was something that I did think about. I mean, I kind of was interested, right?
Yeah.
I love the fine arts. And while I loved what I was doing in the Center for Teaching and Learning, there was just a piece of me that was like, I miss hearing music every day. I miss seeing the art every day. And now when I come to work, I hear from 8 o'clock till whenever I go home, I hear music, I see people working, I see the students, they're just doing amazing work, and that's really fulfilling.
What do you do for the job? Like, what's it like being dean? So me, and I talked to like Amy and them, I thought, me being ignorant for some reason, I thought like either like people that have those higher positions, I'm like, oh, they're probably just in their office, just texting or on Facebook. It's nothing like that, I'm guessing. I know because now I work in administration, there's emails going on between everyone.
Right.
But being dean here, what's the job? What's the job like?
Okay, well, first of all, let me back up something. You're not ignorant because you know to ask questions. And that's a wonderful skill to have. So really? I appreciate that. Yes.
And then we'll go back to it because the question part's like, we go to this side, and man, I don't know. Hopefully people aren't annoyed. Like we go to the community groups, or we do this, and I'm always asking these questions, but I try to make it like more of the philosophical because I'm always so curious. But luckily, no one said, "Hey, quit asking questions." But
right,
yeah,
nobody has all the answers, and so the only way to learn more is to ask questions. So it's brilliant. You're brilliant.
All right.
And now I've forgotten what the question was that you asked me.
Oh yeah, what's it like being like? What do you do as dean?
So, I do a lot of different things, but if I were going to try to summarize it, I try to just make everybody else's job here easier. Mm-hmm. How can I help you just move your area forward? And what are the resources that you need? How can I help you get those? And it could be something just really simple, like this week we got 2 requests to install that little foot pedal on the restroom doors. We had a couple of restrooms that were renovated, and it's like, well, that's a really simple thing. Let's do it, right? Let's just install those things. And but then it's also like talking about curriculum. What do we need to do to better serve our students, to better serve the workforce needs in our state and region? And right now we're going through a strategic planning process. I've got a team of faculty that are leading that process. And we're asking ourselves those big questions. What do we need to do next? I took over on February 29th of 2020, 2 weeks before COVID hit. Yeah. And so the first 2 or 3 years that I've been here have really been about COVID and its impact. And we're now at a point where we can say COVID will always be with us, but I think we've figured that out, I hope. And so now we need to look forward. COVID changed a lot of things. In entertainment, it changed a lot of things. And so how do we as a college need to be thinking about that? How do we need to respond? What do we see as if I look 5 years into the future, where do I need our students to be? And so that's the conversation. We're asking questions and we're trying to figure it out. Again, nobody has a crystal ball. We don't know, but we can ask a lot of smart people what they think and get that input and then start to make decisions based on the data that we receive.
Because now I'm learning more about the university, and the university, I guess, kind of like a business, they have to, they want to keep growing. It'd be kind of cool if we could keep being the same and not worry about money, but there's budget. You guys got to, improve. How's the fine arts? Is it growing? Well, for me, it looked like I've never seen it that big. And it looks like really big. Is it growing? Is there new stuff coming? Is there stuff that you want to hopefully happen?
We've had a wonderful couple of years of record growth. Now, I will say that we also had the first 2 years of COVID. the number of students that we had really dropped. And so we're still rebuilding back to where we were pre-COVID, but we've almost got ourselves back there. We've had record enrollments in music, record freshman class this year in theater. And so we're just excited about where we're headed. We have a new degree in music called Music Industry and Technology that was created in part because of this idea that we want our students to have the option to get into the music business side of this. And we didn't really have that as part of our degree offerings. You could have done it as one of our Bachelor of Fine Arts. This is actually a Bachelor of Science degree. It's the only one in the state, Bachelor of Science in Music, and it borrows heavily from business and our media and journalism department. And so students are over there taking contract law and taking business ethics, and they're here taking the music core. And then they're going to be able to go out and, hey, do I want to be a contract lawyer? Well, I'm going to have to go to law school after that, but I'll have that underlying degree to help me out with that. Or do I want to run a music business store? Or do I want to open up a studio where I offer lessons after school, that type of thing? And so it was kind of designed to help them. And so in each of our areas, our departments are looking at what can we do to kind of respond to the changing nature of the fine arts. So for example, theater, it used to be pre-COVID that there was this distinction. Your program was either theater for the stage or theater for the screen, and you didn't really mix them. Well, COVID just blew that apart, right? Because during COVID, how did I audition? Even if it was for a stage production, I'm auditioning via Zoom. So I better know how to present myself on the screen. And this is simplified. I mean, our theater department has always done a great job of preparing our students for a variety of careers. But we resurrected a class called Acting for the TV Camera. And we started incorporating live TV production into our technicals classes. And that was one of the ways that theater said, okay, how we're going to kind of react to what we see happening in theater in terms of the entertainment and the changes that are happening. And so they made some changes. So, with art, we saw the virtual augmented reality, right? Yeah. That was the way that they responded. So each of the programs has responded in the way that it was best for them.
That is really, really cool. I remember, so I'm from, if people want to know my age, I'm 29. So I was born in 1995. So in the 2000s, I grew up right when the internet was like getting, the dial-up was gone. I still got like that PTSD sign. So I remember 2006, I believe, YouTube started happening. And then I remember, a few years, they had like people making videos, like skits.
Yep.
And nowadays, you got these big YouTube. They're production companies now. They're not on cable TV, sometimes movies, but now they have their own platform.
Yep.
So the stuff is changing. You can make your own content now. Yes. Now you got what's it called? Now there's TikTok. There's the YouTube Shorts. Just 1 minute videos, and then it's going. The stuff is changing.
Right. So, I mean, that's a perfect example, right? 10 years ago, there wasn't a job called content manager. And now there is. And our students are perfectly, actually all three of our degrees, our students are perfectly suited to move into a position like that.
Now, what do you see in the future? Like, I know it's hard to predict, but like throughout, like, we've seen like tech, like, for example, the records. I remember actually the tapes. Then there's CDs, now it's digital. You got streaming, you got this and that. We see, I don't know, what do you think might happen in the future?
Flying cars, man.
Yeah,
flying cars.
Still waiting for that.
Yeah, no doubt, especially as you're traveling across the state trying to get to West River. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. What I have is incredible people. I work with incredible people. And I know that together, we'll figure this out. And that's just part of what we do. How will AI fit into all this? How will virtual augmented reality fit into all this? How will this huge ability, 20 years ago, if I wanted to see myself on a big screen, I had to have access to my local cable, the local access cable, right? Mm. Now, like you just said, anybody can put their stuff out, right? It can be YouTube, it can be Instagram, it could be anything.
Yeah.
And so anybody can be their own producer and their own content creator. So now it's a question of, well, how do you get heard in a world where there's 7 billion voices coming at you in terms of social media and all these other platforms. Well, how do I get heard? And being really good at what you produce is one of the ways that you get heard. And so that's part of what we're working on. Quality has always been a part of our educational process.
Speaking of that, a little bit of it, like being being creative. Because I was thinking, man, I'm not creative. I'm probably not. I'm thinking about like
you are, because we're sitting here doing this.
I guess so. If people are wondering, like, I did not know how to do any of this. I had to like go on YouTube, figure it out, and I think I kind of got the hang of it. But it's all about. It's always the content. I remember watching like a few of the YouTube videos from. If I go to their channel, people I subscribed, go to their first video. You can see how the quality, the content is great, but the quality, like the camera, the mics, or this and that, it's not. It's lower, but the content's still great. I remember one of them. His name is, if people know him, Marquez. He's a tech YouTuber. He says, like, people say, there's a lot of kids that want to become YouTubers and all that. They say, what do I got to do? Do I got to get the most expensive this, or what kind of camera or sound? He says, it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. You just have to make great content.
Yep.
Just like that. And so I don't know if my content's pretty good or not. I think it's not. But
we like it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But something that when I noticed at Vermillion, I was like, whoa, what's something they don't have? And I know I've talked to a lot of interesting people.
Yes, you have.
So that's why I was like, well, let me see how this goes. And even though I don't make money, I wish I made money if people want to sponsor me. If not, but like I get to learn. I feel like I'm in school. I get to learn different. Like there's just so much different things. Like I just can't. I don't know. I really love it. I really do enjoy it a lot. I just don't make money on it. But it's really fun. I don't know where I was going with that for some reason, but I really enjoy all this stuff. It's cool.
And that's how a lot of this starts. And so the next step is, already the wheels are turning. I can see the wheels are turning. How do you monetize this? How do you, or should you, right? There's always that question, right? Because as I listen to your podcast, I feel like what you are providing is a 1 in a million view of the breadth and the depth of our Vermillion community. You've talked to people that I would have thought that I don't know that I would have, connected with, in my, Vermillion's small, but it's still like you don't see everybody all the time, despite what some people think. And so it's been really cool to just hear you talk to other people and for me to learn more about what they do and their perspectives on certain things. And so in that respect, it's a really cool idea. And so maybe you franchise it. Maybe that's how you make the money. It's Sioux Falls Unplugged. Get started, but it's your idea, and so you copyright it, and so you get the royalties off of it.
That's how I should get it.
Yeah.
You're not the first one that told me about, or like we were saying that, I didn't know about this person or this. I have a lot of people. They tell me that too. They're like, hey, I didn't know about this guy. They thought he was like, for example, something else or this, or they're like, hey, you interviewed my friend. I've known him for years. I didn't know he did this. I didn't know he was in the military, or I didn't know he was doing this. I was like, really? I'm just asking people if there's a lot of interest, a lot of fascinating people in this town.
Yes.
I really like Vermillion, and I say it like so many times. I used to complain a lot because the town is small. I say this every single
day. Yeah, I've heard you're from Texas.
Yeah, there you go.
And you don't necessarily like the cold.
No,
see, I've been listening.
See, like I'm going to rant right here. Like the morning for me sucks. I hate it's 45 I think or 50, and it's
beautiful.
I'm like right now I'm wearing a long sleeve like every single day since like almost the summer. I'm in my office for some reason. It's like more cold. I don't know, but for some reason I'm here staying in Vermillion. It's a nice quiet. I think it's kind of quiet. It's more quiet than I'm from. Mm-hmm. But the town is like, you feel like the community, especially like, for example, and I'll say it, no one's sponsoring me on this, but like Hillside, you got that community aspect.
Yep, absolutely.
Same thing, like actually USD, like some of your people you work with, hey, you kind of connect with them. Mm-hmm. Or it could be like some of the students, like for example, Mary and Dwayne, they're doing Global Friends. I really, really enjoy that. Especially, I don't know if it's a connection because my wife's from Mexico. Actually, my daughter too. People don't know that she was born in Mexico. Like, you got that kind of like it's, even though these people could be from, like, for example, different countries, you have those similarities. And it's just not them. Like, I could find, like, people that I talk to, you could find, they could be so different, but there's always, like, some similarity.
So when I was talking about the intrinsic value of art, I'm going to turn around and say that's because every human being has intrinsic value. And part of what you're doing is showing that, which is really cool.
Really?
Yep.
You guys hiring? Because I could.
You're already working for USD.
I guess so. This is great, but I need to get back on track. So, fine arts. What I know you guys talked about. There's like over almost like 300 events. What's going on? I need to know, because you guys have a lot of stuff planned. Yeah.
Well, so first of all, if you want to know what's going on, you can subscribe. I send out a weekly email that is just a list of events that are coming up, and I have a little quote and 3 sentences. And so if you're interested in subscribing to what we call the FAN, Fine Arts Now, the FAN, email me at bruce.kelley, bruce.kelley @usd.edu, and we will add you to the FAN. And then you'll get a list of what's happening. And then I usually go about 3 weeks out, what's happening over the next 3 weeks. And so it just lists everything. And because the College of Fine Arts includes the National Music Museum, University Art Galleries, and the Black Hills Playhouse, there really is stuff happening all over the state. So, for example, the educational wing of the Black Hills Playhouse in a couple of weeks is working with Dakota Abilities to produce a musical up in Sioux Falls. And that's just an amazing experience to see people with a variety of ways that they're able to communicate, that they're able to move around on stage, or that they're able to express themselves artistically. And the Black Hills Playhouse educational staff works with those folks, and it's just an amazing experience. They also go out and there's a separate team that goes out to the high schools. And I said high schools, it's actually grade schools and middle schools, and they work with children to produce little shows. Like they'll work with the students for like 5 days, and then on the 6th day, all the parents come and ooh and ah, and it's wonderful. And so we have that. The National Music Museum has a series of concerts and a series of Saturday afternoons for the family that they're doing. University Art Galleries does a series of exhibitions, including that we have the John Day Gallery, the Gallery 110, the Oscar Howe Gallery. So there's a variety of spaces, exhibition spaces. And then the Department of Music, Theater, and Art have their own events. And so, this is D-Day, so our activities spool down a little bit, except for the marching band, which is very busy this weekend. But last weekend, I think we had 6 different events, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, everything from a violin performance at the National, or piano performance at the National Music Museum, to we had the band, USD Band Showcase over in Alice Auditorium. We had the art exhibition opening. So just a variety of things. 3 guest artists coming. A.E. Chadwick came. He's right now the art director for Lopez versus Lopez, which is a show on TV. I'm not familiar with it, but
yeah, I know which one that is, with George Lopez.
Yeah. And so he's one of our graduates, and so he came here to talk to our students about what it's like to work in the business. And I loved what he had to say. I sat in on one of his workshops, and first of all, one of the things he said was, what I learned. I'm pointing upstairs. We were upstairs. So the theater tech area is upstairs. He said, what I learned up there, I took to Hollywood and I directly got a job. So people sometimes think there's not a direct line employment with our degrees. There is sometimes, not always, but sometimes there is just that direct line. Hey, I learned to do this type of activity here at USD. Now I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to do that same activity. But the other thing that he talked about is the fact that for every actor that you see on TV, there's 200 people behind them. And so the theater business is huge. And so if you make yourself broadly informed, that you understand the technical side of the theater, you understand production, directing, there's a lot of opportunities out there for you.
Yeah. And you mentioned it, that there's a lot that goes behind the scenes, because, this is where I learned it from. I say it again, hillside.
Mhm.
So if people don't know, there's a worship team, amazing people, great. They're the person that plays the bass is amazing.
Yeah.
So, but
3 of the 4 people play bass.
Noah asked me if I could help out with sound, and I didn't know there's a lot to go. Like there's sound,
Yep.
you got live stream, you got slides. The band is also not worshiping. The band is also practicing and playing.
Yep.
You got the lights. I'm like, oh snap, everything goes on. And I remember like I'll volunteer and I'm in the back on Sundays, and I'm just like, man, like I look at the crowd, like these people don't know what's going on. Like some of this stuff is intense. Like, the people that are practicing, they got to go on different days, or you got to be there an hour. We got to make sure everything's right. I get so nervous 'cause I'm like, I hope I don't screw it up and, Pastor Robbie fires me or nothing like that. But I don't think a lot of people know what happens behind the scenes.
Right. And I think it's that way for a lot of things. But yeah, it's 90 minutes of rehearsal on Thursday nights, for those worship team rehearsals. Then you're there at 7:45 in the morning on Sunday mornings to get ready for the 2 services. And it's like that in a lot of different places, in a lot of different types of careers.
Yeah. And then also, I mean, here you guys practice a lot. I'm guessing like, well, Ray told me about it too, like how they, in theater, like you got to practice, or they're practicing like a few weeks before, I think a few weeks or a little longer, but like sometimes at night, in the morning, there could be mistakes. I'm like, man, this stuff is like, you guys go hard on this stuff. And hopefully people do appreciate it. Now I'm looking forward to a lot of the concerts, because they would, in our mailbox at work, they give us like, I see them because there's like a play or something up. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go. But now talking to you, I'm like, hey, I should go because some of the stuff is good. I especially like the Christmas time. One suggestion, I don't know if you guys have it or not, like since it's Halloween, spooky season, do the bands or any of the bands playing like Halloween or like horror movie music or stuff like that?
Well, we have so many different ensembles that, everybody is kind of programming according to what they see. And we have to be careful in terms of our scheduling so that we're not scheduling over each other. I will say traditionally, I don't know if it's happening this year, but in the past, our low brass ensemble has tended to perform around or on Halloween and has made that a theme of their kind of ensemble. So some of our folks are doing it. If you happen to be, doing it right on Halloween, I think there's a temptation to do that.
Okay, I need to check that out because I really like now after talking with David, I started listening more I guess music, but I started listening to, besides the video game music, listening to like movie music, especially movies from like the 80s and 90s. But like since it's like Halloween, like horror movies, I love like the themes and all this and that. I'm like, ooh, this is nice how it gets you kind of. Well, for me, I get scared a lot. I'm like, this is kind of scary. This is intense. It's cool because now I learn like, hey, music kind of it could change or not change you, but like changes your emotion and make
it does. Yeah.
It's.
I mean, when you're putting together a production that uses music, you have to be cognizant of the affect that you're going for, and so because. You can take exactly the same scene. I used to teach music appreciation way back in the day. And one of the things that I would do is show the same movie clip 4 times with 4 completely different soundtracks. And it was the very classic scene from the movie 2001 where that spaceship is docking with that rotating wheel, right? And one of the things I would play like an Alan Jackson tune. And I would ask my students, okay, what's the plot of the movie and what's happening in this scene? And, when you're seeing that scene and you're listening to this, like just this very stereotypical country song, about hauling stuff in my pickup and things like that. Like, well, it's a cargo ship and we don't know what he's going to do, but he's probably hard drinking and hard driving. And it just that change, even though the visual was the same, changing the soundtrack completely changed your expectations of what's going to happen. And I guarantee if you took that scene and played something really, really spooky, people would be like, oh, something's really bad is going to happen, right? I mean, a monster is going to jump out and eat somebody when they dock. And so it's really fascinating to think about the impact that music has on visuals. It's been something I've been interested in.
Ooh, I didn't even think of that. Now that you mentioned that, like if they play, I'm trying to think of I'm just gonna throw it out. Like Avengers Endgame when Tony Stark dies. Spoilers if people haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But imagine
what he dies.
Imagine if they played for some reason like a circus music.
Yeah, right.
Like kind of, I don't know if it ruins the mood or something like that.
But he would create a different mood. I mean, it would feel really disjointed. And so if that was the filmmaker's purpose, then it might work. But otherwise, it would just be silly. Yeah.
And you're right, because there are movies. There's some movies, I didn't think of one, but like some of the thriller mystery type, like the ones that make you think, the psychological ones, some of the music, like it's kind of twisted and like eerie, and you're like, it's not scary.
Yeah.
But it's like, it kind of messes with you.
I mean, like when something really scary is happening on stage, or on screen, or on stage for that matter, but on screen, and you hear this really innocent music box playing, right? There can be the contrast of the musical soundscape with the visuals that you're seeing can create this incredible dissonance if it's used correctly.
Yeah. Oh, another example. I was just thinking, this is great. So people know they know the song, Carol of the Bells.
Yeah,
so
sure.
If people don't know, it's the ones that go dun 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 dun. I love that. But my daughter, she loves that song too. And then she has like a little recorder, and then we figured how to play the song, just the dun 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 dun.
Yeah, that's basically the whole song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I played it, but I was playing it slower for some reason. And then she was a little scared. She said, "Hey, can you not play that? It's kind of scary." I'm like, really? And then I went on YouTube, and then I find the music, and then you could turn down the playback speed, and it changes like it's dun 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 dun. I'm like,
yeah,
it sounds like it feels like, if you're locked in like in a blizzard and like an evil Santa's gonna get you. I'm like, ew. The speed also, all that stuff in music.
Yeah, they're cognitive. They're real cognitive and psychological processes that are going on with that, where you take something that is familiar, but changing it slightly can create a real sense of unease.
Does it? No, it probably does. It's the same with like art, like paintings and sculptures probably too, because you could show. Yeah, actually, I'm thinking of two, because you could have like a beautiful painting, and I'm just thinking, like, I think it's like Michelangelo or Da Vinci. But since it's like Halloween time, I'd look at like, for example, the haunted houses. They have these, the not animations, like robotics or all this and that, and it's kind of eerie. You're like, oh snap, I don't want to, even though it's fake, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
But yeah, even some of the paintings, there's what's that painting called? Is it called Starry
Oh, Starry Night. Yeah, that looks like a scream.
Yeah. That one, like some of these, like even art, like just
which that kind of goes back to your very first question, which was, if I see just a dot painted on this big white canvas, what does it mean? And maybe it's that the artist is trying to create a cognitive dissonance and getting you to ask, what is art? When I was in graduate school, one of my close friends was getting his MFA in art, and for his master's thesis, this is such a typical thing. He had a group of us wearing T-shirts, and the front side of the T-shirt said, "Is this art?" And in the back side of the T-shirt said, "This is art." And it was supposed to just provoke philosophical conversations. Is this art? This is art, right? And so there's a purpose to that, right? Art is sometimes not understandable, but sometimes it's meant to be confusing. Sometimes it's meant to create dissonance. And I'm thinking about visual arts, but of course, music as well creates dissonance.
I think also art, like I think throughout the years, I think you get either accustomed to it or it changes, or not. I don't know if it's changing, but like for me, those movies, the Tim Burton ones where they do like stop motion, like with the clay. I remember watching those when I was a kid, and I wasn't too much of a fit. It was just the animation, because it's slower, right? Because it's stop motion. But nowadays, I watch it and I'm like, I appreciate it more. I'm like, this is nice, because actually it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Another one that I feel like I would have never watched when I was younger, it just threw me off, but this is great. The new the Spider-Man with Miles Morales, Into the Spider-Verse, and there's a Puss in Boots, like the animation, like it's all kind of not trippy, but like comic book style, and then you got different. It's like soup. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
If people have seen it, they understand it.
Right. Yeah.
And then another thing, and I was just talking to this with Shannon about it. We're talking about movies, like animation movies. We were talking about the difference between, you know how they're doing, like Disney's doing these live action remakes.
Right. Yes.
We're talking about The Lion King, and I love The Lion King, the animated movie. It's great. I like the musicals. I get emotional. I cry when Mufasa. Spoilers if people haven't seen it. Also,
Wait, Mustafa dies?
yeah, oh snap!
Mufasa?
Everyone's dead.
He and Tony Stark? Oh my goodness.
Thanos is one hell of a guy. But we're talking about the live action remake. I remember when I saw it. So I guess it is CGI, and because the animals, they did make it CGI, and I appreciate that. I'm like, ooh, because I saw the first teaser trailer, not the trailer, but the teaser, and I was so blown away. Because when I was a kid, I was like, man, I want to see this like realistic, and it looked amazing. And then until I saw the trailer when it came out, and I was like, for something, I was like, I don't know, this is not the same. Then we went to the movies.
Oh.
And I was expecting to, see Lion King, but more realistic, and it's going to be amazing. But I was so disappointed, and I'll tell you why. And I think it's the animation, the fluidity. Because in the Lion King, a lot of Disney movies, you got these, bright colors, the scenery changes, musical, like the music, all this stuff. But the characters too, like it's an animated lion, like it doesn't look realistic. But with this movie, it looks so realistic, which is great. But it loses like the emotion. Like I was watching, I was like, is he like crying? Is he angry? Is he mad? Mufasa died, and I was expecting a bawl. Like I was expecting to cry, and it looked kind of lame. I guess because of a realistic kill, like
right, yeah.
And then like Simba's crying and sad. I'm like, is he crying? I can't tell. Then in the music, I don't know what it is. I'm not bashing on. I think it's Beyonce. She was singing. She's a great artist, but the music, I didn't like it. It's not like I don't like covers. I like watching like YouTube videos with movie or music and people doing different covers.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, I don't know. It threw me off. But see like how different, like it could be art, animation, or the music, like all that, the theater, actually the performance.
Right, yeah.
It could affect you in different ways.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if it misses, like what for you, that moment missed, that the musical choice ripped you away from the scene as opposed to adding to the scene.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is Disney needs to stop with the remakes because it's not going great. But because we are running out of time, is there any last words you want to give out, something that we should know?
You know what? As you mentioned, we offer over 300 events every year, and I just invite people to attend as many as they would like to. We have something happening just about every night, and it's a wonderful place. I love our students. I love our faculty and staff. They do amazing work, and just come and enjoy this. What you're going to see is college students who are amazingly talented and growing in their craft, but you're also seeing future stars and future professionals who will be working in the top entertainment areas in the nation. And that's an exciting opportunity. And it's just right here. And it's so easy to park. And you just walk in the door, right? I mean, and that's one of the benefits of Vermillion is we have these amazing cultural resources, and you can just enjoy them.
Sweet. I'm excited to check out everything else. Sweet. Well, thanks a lot, Bruce.
Thank you.